Yonex Percept 97. In theory, it is a perfect racket. Looks great, has great endorsements. I know recently they took a hit with Hurkacz going over to the Wilson camp, switching over to the Blade. 1619, but in general it is an exciting racket. But somehow Percept 97 has some issues that are quite a serious one for me, at least as a grinder. So let's go to the review. So first, like I said, yeah, in theory it is a perfect control-oriented racket with some added spin or power or forgiveness compared to rackets in a similar circle. And mainly here I mean Head Prestige Pro, which is 1820. So yeah, many of us are looking for a bit higher launch angle, a bit higher spin potential. And Percept probably is the closest racket that comes to my head. If someone would ask me to give an advice what racket should be next going from the Prestige Pro. But yeah, here is the first issue. It is a very light racket, both in static wave and swing wave. When it's paired with a lowered balance point, you are getting an anemic response, maybe even issues with stability. So for someone switching from the Prestige Pro and looking for a bit more help, I'm not sure he will be satisfied because yeah, lower plow through, lower stability, maybe even lower power potential leads to a bit less user-friendly experience. And that was my issue with the Percept 97. I still would pick Prestige Pro for its just pure control and the overall power, thanks to the specs a bit heavier to swing, but the balance point and relatively easy swing wave makes the racket still easy to use if you're an advanced player. And if you're not, you probably won't like the Percept 97 either, because the rackets are kinda designed towards similar players. The next issue coming from a Prestige Pro is I expect similar level of comfort and feel. And Percept line in general has a slightly stiffer head. It feels stiffer on impact. The feel isn't as sublime as with Prestige or even the Blades. So what Percept 97 is really trying to offer here? I'm not really sure. It doesn't offer me more power. It doesn't really offer me much more spin. The feel still not as good as the other control-oriented rackets. So we have a racket that on paper is perfect, even the paint job, I love the paint job, but in practice, when you compete with the Percept 97, I wasn't getting anything more than I already could get from the Prestige or Blade rackets, and that's basically the main reason why Percept 97 wasn't on my top 10 list. I tried customizing Percept 97 and it helped a little bit, but did it really help that much? Because the overall stiffness of the head, it's still a comfortable racket, but I would say for the control-oriented racket, for a target group of players it is kind of designed for, I would say I just wasn't getting enough control and the response was just not consistent enough to protect this idea for a control-oriented design. Because yeah, I should judge the racket as a control-oriented racket. I always have this issue with all the control-oriented rackets if they have too low specs. So the brand is offering me a very control-oriented racket, feel-oriented racket, this classic response, whatever, but with a very amateur-like specs. So who is the racket for? For the amateurs or a slightly more advanced players? And more advanced players probably will prefer something a bit heavier, right? So they will have to customize Percept 97. And once the Percept 97 is customized, they come to the conclusion that they actually had something similar or it may be even better in stock form with Prestige Pro or Blade, right? Percept 97 should have the swing wave around 320, 325, I would say, to be considered as a more serious racket. In stock form, it's, I don't know, maybe I could defend that Percept 97 is a bit better for the one-handed backhands, so maybe here is this spot for the Percept 97, but still I would expect a slightly more power from the racket if the racket has such low specs. I think players will have more fun with the VCore 98, maybe even VCore 95, which is overall maybe a bit more spin-friendly racket. It's a tough choice here because VCore 95 has pretty much the same issue that the Percept 97, which is too anemic specs. But VCore 95 has a slightly higher swing width, so this already wakes up the design. You have a bit more plow through, so yeah, the racket is a bit heavier, but still for an advanced player it will be all good, and maybe most will still customize it a little, maybe leather grip or something, right? So yeah, I would say VCore 95 is a bit closer to be ready to play in stock form, while Percept 97, I don't know, like it's a tricky racket. I tried to customize it to wake up the power potential and the overall heaviness of the racket, but I was starting to lose the control that it is like the primary thing for the racket. If I lose the control with a control-oriented racket, maybe it's just not for me, right? I should, at this point, I should just consider trying a spin-oriented racket or maybe a lighter but powerful racket. You know, finding this balance that would suit my swing style, swing speed, and vision how I want to play, how high above the net, things like that, right? So I would say for the control-oriented rackets, still Prestige Pro, Blade 1820 are probably the best. Then if we go a bit lower, I would put here Percept 97, Gravity Pro, and Speed Pro. So if I mention Percept 97 in line with the Gravity Pro and Speed Pro, it means it's not a bad racket, right? I would say Yonex should just slightly improve the intention of the racket, intention in the design. What we are trying to give here. Is the racket more for people that are guiding the ball, or for the people that are ripping the ball? And how much control and power and spin each group needs, right? So for me, I'm more guiding the ball, so I need a bit heavier specs. And when I try to mimic this slightly different play style and swing style, I expect a bit more power. And that's where I find that, yeah, this swing style is actually working. And with the Percept 97, I'm just not getting enough penetration or power when I try to rip the ball compared to the VCore 98, for example, or VCore 98 Tour, which is actually even better. So yeah, Percept 97, I need more plow through, a bit higher swing wave, a bit more penetration, maybe a bit softer impact, maybe a bit more spin potential. It's not a spin-oriented racket, definitely, but 1619 is giving me enough for my play style. When you add up all the issues with the Percept 97, then yeah, it's just not good enough. So yeah, that's a quick one. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and see you soon. Bye bye.